Warning: the following content is intended for mature audiences. Subjects such as PTSD, depression, anxiety, and suicide will occur and may disturb some viewers. The views and opinions in this video are not those of YouTube, its content creators, or affiliates. Viewer discretion is advised. And welcome back. So I realized when I was making the last video that I'm going through and giving this pre-prepared speech I made its own videos for each section so they have time to, breathe and get some deeper explanation, some more heartfelt perspective on it. And I realized there was this one paragraph that I accidentally skipped over. And it basically states that because PTSD, where it hides in our minds, is in areas that are now seen as taboo or controversial because of political correctness. And I'm not saying political correctness is a bad thing. Don't take my words out of context on that. But that's where it hides. It hides where we are afraid to tread. And that's why it's been so hard for me, at least, and probably for a lot of other people, to actually deal with it, because it's in an area where if you go looking, you go digging around, you're socially designated as a bad guy because you're going into areas that you're not supposed to be exploring. You're not supposed to be confronting or talking about or doing anything like that. And because of that, there's a lot of nooks and crannies that it can hide in, and even just a tiny little sliver of it can still mess you up. It's like kryptonite with Superman. A tiny little sliver can completely rob him of his powers. And it attacks us by going after our passions. Like I said, it changes you from who you were to who you are. It also makes the things that you once enjoyed something you can't enjoy. And by robbing you of your passions, of your comforts, you have to go through and find new passions, and you have to find new comforts and new joys. It's not impossible. It really isn't. You can go out and experience a whole lot of things because, like I said, this planet is flippin' huge in comparison to us. We human beings are tiny little specks on the surface of this planet. And you have to go into a very dark part of how you see yourself and how you see life and the world to understand that this is where PTSD sleeps. This is where it rests its head. It's not a comfortable thing at all. When I was going through that, it was one of the most confusing times of my life. Not very troubling because I was learning as I went. And, that's a very scary place to go. And like I said, I'm hoping that by me coming out with this and putting it all on the line, that it actually makes it more comfortable for other people. That it makes it easier for them to actually go through and understand what's going on. And how to actually, succeed. Kick its butt. It's not that powerful. It's scary. It's intimidating. But think of it, I can't believe I'm making another Harry Potter reference, but think of it as a boggart. And for those of you who don't watch Harry Potter, don't worry, I'll think of something. But it's this thing that imitates your greatest fears. So of course you're gonna, retract from it. You're gonna pull away. You're not gonna want to get close to it. You're not gonna want to spend time with it. But in the Harry Potter universe, the way to actually defeat a boggart is to go through and think of something that actually makes you laugh, to transform it into something that you can not be afraid of. One of the characters, he's afraid of spiders. So what does he imagine making the spider more comical? He puts rollerblades onto the 8 legs of the spider. So it's trying to skitter around, and it's got these rollerblades on it that makes it go falls flat. Once you've actually started laughing at it, you just go ha, and it disappears. It goes away. That's pretty much the same way we have to think of PTSD. We have to actually go through and actually laugh at it. And not because it's a bad thing, not because it's an enemy, not because it's inherently evil, but because that's what robs it of its power. It's robbed you of your passions, your happiness, your comfort. Rob it of its power. Laugh in its face. Why not? Because, I'm sorry, I'm not afraid of PTSD anymore. And because I'm able to laugh at it, don't get me wrong, it's still hard to actually deal with it. I'm still a little fidgety with talking about it and putting it out there. But it's not a bad thing. You just gotta learn how to deal with it. Maybe that's another way of thinking about it for people who aren't Harry Potter fans. It's like driving a car. You know, it's a big, heavy thing, and it can be really scary. I remember when I was learning how to drive, I was really nervous about doing something wrong, about hitting a curb or somebody running out in front of me, and being new at driving, I wouldn't think to actually put my foot on the brake. You know, it was a very scary thing to be, in control of a vehicle for the first time. And when I made a wrong turn that ended up dropping me on a main road where I would have to drive, it was really intimidating. But I sat at the stop sign, I waited for traffic to pass, looked both ways, and then I signaled and turned out and got on the main road, and I realized that it was fine. It wasn't as intimidating as it actually was. It was just that first step to actually get me on the road. And that's the same thing with PTSD. You have to basically say, enough. I'm done with being afraid. I'm done with being controlled by this thing that wants to make me not be happy. I'm gonna go out and be happy. And then you start learning that, okay, this isn't going to actually hurt me. This isn't actually going to control my life. I can be in control of it. Because one thing I always use as like an analogy for people is to help them understand PTSD a little bit, is it's like being at a bar with your friends. And you're standing there, you're talking, you're ragging on each other, you're having fun. And all of a sudden you make a comment, and you think it's funny, you think it's okay, but they, whether they don't think it's funny or they are just trying to mess with you, they don't laugh. And they all just kind of, they look at you. And you feel these walls closing in on you, and you're like, oh, I shouldn't have said anything. That's what it is. Every day, 24/7 sometimes. And once you actually start making the steps to understand what it is, where it's hiding, what it's using as a shroud, like with political correctness, it's something that makes it powered. It makes it in control of how you're going to feel. But by saying enough is enough, your friends can scowl at you or make you feel inferior, but then you just think to yourself, wait a minute, Why should I be feeling like this? Why should I be, feeling all negative, feeling ridiculed, feeling judged? I'm not being judged. They're my friends. They're just messing with me. Screw it. Let's have some fun. L'chaim. Have fun with it. It will get better. It's that first step that trips you up and makes you feel uncomfortable and makes you feel, oh, am I doing the right thing here? But it will get better. And the more comfortable you get with it, the better it actually becomes, because then it's not just this one thing that you're being comfortable with. It's not just this one specific scenario that you're actually finding control over. You're able to actually expand it and make it infinitely more and make it better. And it will be challenging, but don't give up, because growth is painful. They're called growing pains for a reason. But once you get through it, you realize that you're bigger, you're stronger. You've gone through the growing pains. This is, as a base principle, it's no different. The situations are different, but not the base principle. It's exactly the same thing as growing pains. Because like I said, you're not the same person that you were. It's not a bad thing. You just got to get to know who you are again. You got to get to know what your little nuances are, what your habits are now. Maybe you have a tick when you do something with your friends now. Well, if they notice it, don't be like, oh, put your hand away, put it in your pocket. No, start a drum solo. Ow. Oh. Shouldn't have done that. Oh, that actually hurt. My dog slept with his paw on my chest and he scratched me up. Oh, that was stupid. But I'm not afraid of it. But yeah, that's what you have to do. That's what you have to see PTSD as. It's gonna be a little nerve-wracking. It's gonna make you nervous, but, you were nervous when you went on your first date, weren't you? You were nervous when you drove your car for your first time, weren't you? Nervous when you started your first job. You should be nervous when you're starting the war against PTSD. But you know what? It's not as bad as you're gonna think it is. It's a lot easier once you get through that barrier. It's not exactly like tiptoeing through the daisies, but it's a lot more rewarding than all of that stuff. Because, and I don't know who said it. I really wish I knew who said it, because it just comes up as an anonymous phrase now. Oh, some person said it years ago. We don't know who, we don't know when, we don't know where, we don't know anything about it. We just know that it was said. But the phrase is, it's much easier to walk the road less traveled than it is to create it. And that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to create your own road. You're going to have to cut back the underbrush and clear out some path for you to walk through, and other people will be able to follow you. Other people will be able to take the road never before traveled, because you've been creating it. And you'll be able to spread it out and pay it forward and be an example for other people. So don't worry if you're nervous. Don't worry if you're a little frightened or scared. But mainly, this is where it falls down to. Always remember, never give up, never surrender.